We've had 2 entire Zelda open world games in the last 10 years. Have we had enough? Are we ready to admit that it actually wasn't that great all along? I don't even know if I believe in that opinion, but I am Chris Meekness fan, hosting the CRUBCAST today with an unusual intro where every week it gets worse. I don't care. Kevin, how are you?
I like that your camera got really dark. Like your lighting just got serious the moment you were like, Zelda's dead.
Yeah, you know. Kevin the Golden Bolt's with me. He appreciating my lighting. Yes. Kass, how are you? Trav guy.
I'm so tired, dude. I'm ready to talk about Zelda till I pass out in exactly 3 minutes from now.
Well, you know who has more energy than you? It's Brody, who's been awake for 30 minutes. Hi, Brody.
Hi, I'm drinking energy drink, and it's not sugar-free Red Bull today.
It's sugar-full Red Bull.
It's sugar-full Rockstar.
So this year is Zelda's 40th anniversary, if you're wrong, and I figured it'd be a good time to talk about the age-old question we've had since the start of the Switch era with Breath of the Wild, which was around the pushback that people had where they started wanting a traditional Zelda, or they were disappointed that there were no dungeons in Breath of the Wild to the traditional sense, and a lot of people just wanted the old Zelda back the moment we got something new and different. And since it has been, like you said, Chris, about 10 years since we had a traditional Zelda, I mean, really, it's closer to, at this point, 15 because of Skyward Sword being 15 years old this year.
True.
There's a question of what does a new Zelda look like in the old traditional 3D format? Does it exist anymore? If we're talking about the business side of things, if we want to pretend we're executives like everyone on the internet, we could talk about whether the audience will even transfer now from the 30 million people that played a Breath of the Wild to a traditional Zelda and how that looks. There's a lot of interesting stuff here, and I don't think I care.
Let's go.
That's a good way to
That's
open
the
the
answer I
topic
wanna
for
hear.
our whole pod.
If we don't care, listener, then you should care about what we have to say. It's reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the only way to be a true leader is to not want it.
Zelda is a strange thing because by any accountability of fact, it is kind of an annualized series. You know, if not, it is mostly an annualized series. Like every year there is a Zelda release, right?
Yeah.
But
I don't know that we're quite there, but close.
Doesn't ever feel like it. And also it just feels like the actual Zeldas that matter are such like milestone, so much time between them events that I kind of forget Zelda exists, even though there's always a Zelda release.
I'll take that and I'll throw a thought onto it because you reminded me of two things here. One is a thing I've said before on the podcast, which is something I had come to realize around the time of Breath of the Wild, which was the first 20-ish years of Zelda. Or what was sorry, I'm going to mess up my own numbers here. The first half of Zelda's lifetime had as many Zelda games as 2011 to 2016. Like, it was pretty close to that. I'm getting the exact math wrong there because it's been so long since I thought about it. But Zelda was not always an annualized series, and then it became one as time went on. And
when would you say it became one?
It's probably closer to the DS era if you start looking at that time span. It wasn't annual at that point quite yet, but there was a point around, I think it was around Skyward Sword, that if you did the math, the number of Zeldas that we got from 1986 to 2011, and then 2011 to like 2018, an equal amount of Zelda IP games came out in those two spans. So 25 years versus 7 years.
Yeah.
So it did accelerate, and that reminds me of a thing that we heard recently, which was this analysis of why Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest started to lose a lot of the new generation audiences because they were so stretched out between releases. That we had so many years between Final Fantasy that became such a prestige series as time went on that Pokemon did take over as the RPG for so many people because, quality or not, they came out every single year, so you had a new audience coming in every single year on top of the audience you were building.
You don't have quite so much baggage as remake part 2 situation.
I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking about, like, from Final Fantasy 12 to 13 was 5 years, just about. if not more. I forget the exact time frame there, but like from Final Fantasy, 9 to 10 was about a year and a half. Before that, you had one just about every year, but from Final Fantasy X onward, you really didn't get a mainline Final Fantasy to the point that they didn't feel that they began to feel like a prestige series even more than they already were because they stretched out and bloated.
You have 11 and 14 being MMOs, so they're not quite the same.
That helped things, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously Final Fantasy has spin-offs, which is kind of how Zelda was trying to do it, right? Where it's like, oh, here's this smaller title, here's this remake of a thing.
Triforce Heroes on 3DS, baby, let's go.
Exactly, right? Or even something like Link Between Worlds, which was a new release, a new game, even if it was reusing the map of Link to the Past. But it was like, there's enough there that if you wanted to play Zelda, you were getting new things. But if you were one of those people that's like, I'm waiting for the next big release, the next quote unquote real Zelda, you have to wait like 5 years between releases or whatever. And it's like, yeah, if that's all you're there for, that's quite a wait, right? Even back during like the PS3 days or whatever, Sony would be like, okay, we're gonna try for like a 2-3 year cycle to get like the next Uncharted out or whatever. You wouldn't be waiting 5-6 years like you are now for literally anything.
And I'd say I'm in that camp.
Yeah,
like I don't really jive with the 2D Zeldas as much. Just doesn't do as much for me. So like as a 3D Zelda guy, it's like once or twice a decade I get to maybe be excited for one, depending on the direction and look and vibe of it, right? Like Skyward Sword didn't do much for me, even though I thought it looked cool. I've never played it, never felt the need to. So.
It's a shame because Skyward Sword was.
Really
Skyward Sword has the best of every individual aspect of Zelda, of 3D Zelda, and then when you put it all together in the original Wii build, it was less than the sum of its parts. And it turns out that removing 15 hours of filler, like the Switch version did, made it a better game. What a shock.
What was that filler?
It was just when you booted the game up and grabbed any individual item, it would tell you what the item was every time.
Oh my God.
Text was slower. There's a lot of stuff between the dungeons as well. Like there are usually 2 to 3 hours between dungeons in Skyward Sword.
Holy moly.
Of like unskippable getting to the dungeon stuff, let alone whatever you do in the side questy stuff. So despite being one of the most linear 3D Zelda games, it had so much there that it just felt bloated. Like I love so much of Skyward Sword, and then by the time I'm near the end, I don't think I've actually done the final dungeon of that game without pulling up a guide, because it's a very prototype Breath of the Wild dungeon where the puzzle is the dungeon itself.
Right.
I don't think I've gotten to that point without being so absolutely sick of the game that I'm like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm just going to look up how to get through it because I'm so tired of the last act of that game is like no dungeons besides that one, but like still 10 hours of shit you got to do. Like, because there's just so many BS side quests that are forced upon you, like go get this instrument and then go talk to this guy and then go back and talk to the same 3 guys again. A lot of backtracking, a lot of fillery backtracking.
I'm realizing as you're talking about it that I don't think I've heard anything about Skyward Sword. I remember watching a family member playing it, and it was like you point the sword at things to like use like a dowsing machine sort of thing, and that's all I remember.
Oh, right. I always forget about the dowsing.
There's a lot of that too. It's unfortunate.
There's like a big kiwi bird thing.
Yeah,
there's a big kiwi bird.
Yeah, those are cool. I like those guys.
There's the imprisoned. You fight him like 7 times.
I remember that guy because I remember seeing my brother-in-law playing it and being like, "Wow, did you start a new game?" He's like, "No, this is a new fight."
Yeah,
I'm fighting him again.
They just do it a bunch. But yeah, that's a perfect example of why people were so sick of the bloated 3D Zelda formula that led up to Breath of the Wild existing, and why Breath of the Wild was such a fresh air to a lot of Zelda fans, even if you wanted more from the dungeons, because to a lot of Zelda fans, if the dungeons aren't there, the game's not good. The game's just defined by being a very basic puzzle adventure game, which is an interesting thing.
It's an interesting trajectory for the series to have taken, right? To go from being like a more rigid puzzle game where there is a solution and you have to figure out the solution, to being something more akin to, forgive my French here, an immersive sim. Yeah, it's taking like this idea of free form. We're going to give you some tools, kind of figure it out, which obviously Tears of the Kingdom does even more so than Breath of the Wild in many ways, to the point where I don't know that most people are doing the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom in like the way they're supposed to, as opposed to just like, screwing with the mechanics the way they kind of want you to anyway. I think there is this weird disconnect, though, at least insofar as when they tried to introduce those concepts into 2D Zelda with Echoes of Wisdom.
You remember the name. You did it.
Yeah, I did it.
Oh, yeah. That's the one.
Where they're trying to marry these two concepts that are kind of a little bit diametrically opposed, because I remember hopping into Echoes of Wisdom and playing like the first, several hours of that game was really interesting to me, where I was not engaging with the story at all. I was not engaging with the dungeons at all. I was purely going through the overworld, going basically around the entire perimeter of the overworld, seeing what I could do, gathering new echoes and like powers and tools, and just literally just traversing the entire map before I went and did any of the story. And that was so fun because I was doing what they wanted me to do, or what they seemingly wanted me to do, of playing with these new powers, trying to figure out, like flying by the seat of my pants, using what I have on hand, trying out new things, experimenting, all of that jazz. And then after I did all of that, I started doing like the four corners of the map, do the story kind of situation.
Yeah.
And that's when the game just started to like railroad me in a way that did not feel good, in a way that like they want you to go to, like, you have to go to this specific point to start the quest, because if you try going to this later area, that you will go there in the quest, but if you try to go there early, there's just like nothing there for you to do. And it's a lot of that. It's you can do technically all four corners in any order you want, but you have to go step by step in each of those four quests, in a way that just was not conducive to how they seemingly wanted that game to be played.
So it's like every 3D Zelda.
Right. It's like every 3D Zelda, but at least with previous Zelda titles, it was like you have a certain set of tools in a way where it feels more like a standard puzzle game of like your goal is to figure out the order to do things in, both on like a macro and micro level, where this one was trying to kind of, again, it was trying to marry the two ideas.
It's square peg, round hole, which is also what I think the next traditional 3D Zelda, assuming that it happens, I think that's the issue it's going to start running into, is exactly that sort of thing. Like not the only way, but one way I could see it going, and this might be blasphemous, but I could absolutely see them doing something akin to like what they kind of tried to do with Mario Odyssey, which was let's go look back at what's made 3D Mario over the years. Take the bones of a game like a Galaxy, but with the more freeing level design and jungle gym approach of a Mario 64 or a Sunshine, and let's go from there and reinvent that concept. I could see them do that with the heavily rumored but probably not real Ocarina remake. Mm-hmm. Because we already have an Ocarina remake that specifically was down to making sure that bugs from the original game stayed put in the 3DS version, as faithful as possible.
So we're thinking more of like a straight up Ocarina reimagining in the context of a modern Zelda.
I think
the
that
FF7 remake of Ocarina.
I mean, that would make sense. There's timelines in that game. I think that they would be insane to do it with Ocarina, but if there's any company that's willing to do the insane shit, it's Nintendo. And that kind of goes to the business side of things. I was going to say that if we want to play fake executive like every gamer on the internet does, I think there's something to be said about they can do whatever. Like as far as the audience latch goes, so there's a question of whether the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom audience will latch on to a traditional Zelda. We've seen that with Skyward Sword remake, remaster, and with Echoes of Wisdom, that audience hasn't quite latched. We've seen a decent number jump over to the point that like the Link's Awakening remake did, I'm pretty sure, markedly better than the original, which was a big game at the time back then on the Game Boy. So we've seen that people will transfer, as always. But I think the Nintendo parasocial audience means that they can do whatever the hell they want and people are going to buy it, parentheses positive. Because they could just say, we're going to remake Ocarina of Time, but it's going to be entirely different. And they're going to get like 10 million people to give it a shot because, oh my God, we know Ocarina of Time based on the myth around it. So you're going to have the diehards buy it to complain. You're going to have the diehards that want to buy it to say, oh my God, it's even better somehow. You're going to have the casuals that are going to buy it just to find out. You're going to get the sales so you can do what you want. And that's the freeing thing about being Nintendo of any of the companies left in the gaming space, is that they can get away with it. They could shoot somebody and say, you know what? Yeah, we'll buy it.
My tinfoil theory, having just now heard of this rumor as it exists, is what if it's actually just a Twilight Princess remake, and because that game is just an Ocarina retread in and of itself, like, you can kind of just get away with doing that?
I wouldn't be shocked by that either, honestly. I don't think it's going to be either of those things necessarily. I think if you're going to remake one, it probably is Ocarina, though, because of the branding of Ocarina and the boldness of doing it. But I don't think that this Nintendo is... I think they're more risk-averse than in the past.
Or even I even maybe something like what Link Between Worlds did, right? With Link to the Past, where you could take that Ocarina map and say, here's a new game in that map, but with new stuff. And I feel like you skirt around a lot of the issues of like, oh, this isn't a true remake or whatever if you do something like that, where you're saying, here is this new immersive sim kind of Zelda, but we're putting it on that old map.
They should make just the water temple where it has to be done in a set order. Like every other part of the game, you have freedom. That specific part, they're like, no, you got to put the boots on.
That's the moment they could like flex their like dynamic water and everything. Like, oh, you have like a water gun that you can fill up pools with or whatever, and it's all dynamic and it all like flows and everything. And like, here's the new Switch 2 tech, and they're like, no.
Yeah,
I think they'll be showing off HD Rumble 3 for this one.
Oh. You can ride Epona and feel it bouncing.
I don't like
way
that.
ahead of you, bro. Don't even play with me right now.
I essentially, I think the big thing that the big question is, how do you translate, like we were kind of getting at, how do you translate faithfully the very bespoke dungeon design of 3D Zeldas that people are looking for? How do you take that and make it fit within an immersive sim sort of world? And the answer is, I don't think you can do both of those things, because they are, like you said, Brody, they're diametrically opposed concepts in both 2D and 3D. I think you have to accept that, you know, the best sort of dungeon design that a Breath of the Wild immersive sim styled Zelda could have as a traditional dungeon would be, here's a dungeon with those walls that Link can't climb. So like they have like, you know, whatever texture that Link's not allowed to climb them. And then each individual room is a shrine. Because that's all it would be, is that a dungeon is a series of shrines.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of what they tried to do with the dungeons in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, right?
To a lesser extent. Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's big shrine, go get the 5 points. So there is ostensibly 5 shrine-esque puzzles that you could be doing, or you could just be breaking the game and doing that as well. And so given the option to break the game, a lot of people will. And the thing is, I think you just have to commit. I think you have to commit to either this is a puzzle game or this is an immersive sim, right? It's trying to do that halfway thing that I think leads to a lot of people being like, I don't know. Because if I could have gone through Echoes of Wisdom, starting any of those quests like halfway through, I think I would have had like a much like nicer time with the game of like, oh, I'm doing this in an order that feels natural to me and the way that I'm exploring the world, which, to be fair, the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom do a better job of this. They're not perfect. They do have their little quest lines that you kind of have to follow in order to get to like the dungeons or whatever, but like you can you can be a little more freeform with those games. So I think it was mostly an attempt on the 2D side that maybe just kind of missed, more or less.
It also was Grezzo. It wasn't Nintendo. So
right.
There's that element too. I think it also comes down to a lot of people. I love Zelda. Preface. A lot of people don't want to admit that those Zelda games live and die on their dungeon design. A lot of Zelda games are just pushing blocks the entire game, with some good combat usually in there, maybe.
No, you're right.
Like, that's the thing, is like the thing that made Breath of the Wild so appealing was here's all these cool ways to do things, obviously. But if you go back and you look at here's this 98 out of 100 Metacritic game and it's Skyward Sword, and it turns out, most of the puzzles are just wiggle the remote a certain way. I wish I was being reductive. That's just how that game is. They don't really go past the surface level. It's just that because it's got the prestige of Zelda, we kind of all gave it more of a pass than we would with other stuff, which is fine. Yeah, like
I think that's
it's fine.
Exact.
I think the fact that the most cult classic Zelda game is the one that has some weird ass puzzles like Majora's Mask and decides to make those puzzles deeper. Taking that and looking at its initial response, and its initial response was, this is okay, I guess, but it's just kind of more Ocarina of Time, but with a lot more stuff going on that we don't like it as much because it's harder. That was a lot of the initial response to Majora, was that it was both more of the same and also too different. So when you look at the two different being, instead of just having a bunch of mid puzzles, it's a bunch of mid puzzles that use individual masks to like make it more involved than just pushing stuff, or really good use of an individual, get the item in the dungeon, do the item the rest of the dungeon, and that's kind of cool.
If I can put forth, I've been sitting here replaying my memories of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, just to try and really figure out where I land. And I know this has helped a bit by those games not having a lot of dungeons in the first place, but even with the shrines, like I'm just remembering what I liked about those games, and it's never really the dungeons or shrines. There's a lot of stuff that's very cool about the design there, but it's not what I remember about those games. None of it's coming to mind as like, oh man, I really like that one or that one. Everything that's coming to mind is just going through the actual world and being immersed in the characters and towns and just the weird little moment-to-moment things out in the actual world, right? So I'm like, do you even need to, for me at least, to get me on board, do you even need a dungeon in a new Zelda game, or do I just want an open world game with a Nintendo flair? That feels,
I think I agree with that, because
wrong.
Tears of the Kingdom tried to do more traditional dungeons, because Breath of the Wild, the dungeons in Breath of the Wild were all kind of weird. It was more like you go in and out of menus to like rotate things, and then you wait for the thing to rotate.
Yeah, they were all the water temple.
Yeah, basically. And then Tears tried something more interesting, but if I'm being honest, aside from the one with all the redeads in them, is that what they're called? The redeads? I don't remember.
Probably. They should have been. Yeah, they should have been redeads, and I don't know if they are in Tears, but the
zombie guys, regardless. Like with the light gimmick, like aside from that one, I don't remember anything, and I loved Tears of the Kingdom, but I don't remember anything from the dungeons there.
I remember moments of Tears, mainly moments which are inherent to a lot of those games in general. Like I remember climbing up to the water temple in Tears because it was really, really cool getting up super high in the air.
And it's all like
to the cloud temple. Like the actual act of getting to the cloud temple in Tears of the Kingdom was one of the most memorable moments to me because I did it without having Tulin.
Right.
I didn't have. I got up there to the dungeon without Tulin, and then was like, "How do I do this?" Turns out you need Tulin.
I was gonna say there though, Kevin, because that kind of gets into what I was thinking about with Echoes, where I have a similar memory with the water temple in that game, specifically of getting up to the top of that without having already activated the quest, and then kind of getting up there and being like, "Oh, I can't do this." This was a really cool moment that feels very undercut by the fact that I cannot now actually do the thing I was going to.
It's interesting because those games are so built, and Nintendo is so built as a company at this point on rewarding that sort of curiosity. I mean, down to the since at least 3D World, if not sooner, Nintendo saying, "Oh, if you find a spot during playtesting that you shouldn't be able to get to, put coins there." Like that sort of design philosophy, to the point that they've now taken it to its logical endpoint, which is an immersive sim like DK Bonanza, where you can break everything, just about. It's such an interesting thing because friend of Crub, the folks over at GVG, did a top 10 Zelda Dungeons. They've been doing a lot of top 10s. Derek has been running top 10 polls with his community and having people vote on top 10 games of this console, this genre, whatever. They did Zelda Dungeons, and when I saw him put up the poll, I sat there and thought about which Zelda Dungeons I really loved and which ones were the most memorable to me. And like we were saying earlier, I sat there and I'm like, I'm a Zelda guy and I can't think of any of these. Like, I can't think of key moments outside of the ones that I played as a child. I can think of individual flashbulbs of, I remember this from Wind Waker HD. I remember this aesthetic. I remember, there was a cool wind puzzle in that specific spot, or that sort of thing. But
like the Sky Temple and Twilight Princess, right? I remember the double claw shot thing and being like, oh, that's cool. Also, that's where I lost my save data twice, so I have that memory. But like, that's a really cool aesthetic dungeon, right? I don't remember a damn thing I did in that dungeon though, other than claw shot, right?
Yeah,
which, and it's not a bad thing to remember, but
it's tough because like I don't replay Zelda games that often because they are still like 35 to 40 hours a lot of the time. Like they're still long games on top of all that I'm not going to go through that experience too many times in my lifetime because there's a lot of things I can do with 40 hours. And like, that's why like I've played Skyward Sword probably more times than a lot of the other Zeldas I've played. But like, that's because I always really wanted to like it more than I ended up liking it until the Switch version that fixed a lot of the bloat. But all Zelda games have been bloated until they stripped it really far back to games that you can say are bloated only if you choose to do everything, like a Breath of the Wild, like a Tears, where those games aren't inherently bloated still. It's just that if you're going for every, Korok seed, then it's kind of on you. I say that as somebody who did every single shrine and quest and item in Breath of the Wild and every single one in Tears. Did all of that. So yeah, and I loved every second of those because it was that the moments of those games that captured the prime experience of Zelda to me are the ones that hit on that discovery of, that's a really cool thing. And those games are so chock full of them that though I missed the hook shot in Breath of the Wild and in Tears, I only missed it for a little bit of time because man, the amount of shit you can just find out that you can do. Again, it's an immersive sim. You can constantly discover things, and it does live up to that thing that every old head Zelda 1 player from back in the day can say, oh yeah, I truly did discover these things. It's the stuff that made people like Zelda 2 until a YouTuber told them not to, because you could experience just figuring shit out. It wasn't always great in that regard, but like when you play Zelda 2 trying to figure shit out, it is kind of a really cool experience.
There's maybe an unspoken, or maybe not unspoken, but something that doesn't really get talked about a lot is that, to your point, games back then were all kind of like that. So the idea that you could just stop playing Zelda because you didn't know what to do and go play 30,000 other games at any moment was not a thing.
Yep.
So you had nothing else to do other than burn every bush and then go talk to your stupid friend at school who's like, I burned the other bush and it led to a stupid staircase.
Yeah.
It's very different.
That's very true.
Yep. Yeah, we're so, again, parentheses positive, we're so spoiled nowadays by the fact that we have shelves of games behind us and games are cheap now and they're not, $100 for a cartridge unless, it's a game key card.
Yeah.
And it's...
To be clear, as a kid, like I had Zelda 1 NES around, right? And I never wanted to play it because I just didn't know what the hell was going on and it scared me and I died instantly all the time, right? I'm not saying it's like, the ideal game, but those things would hop around and I was like 6. I was scared.
That's fair. You probably thought there were spiders on your TV.
I don't like spiders.
It's like, I think even like the guide game label that Zelda 1 and 2 get now is unfortunate because I did this partially. I never went all the way through with it for this video idea I had, but I really wanted to go through Zelda 1 with pen and paper. And pen and paper, and then I'd have the official guide itself, the manual or whatever. I'd have that available, but not like a Prima Games or whatever.
You absolutely should, because I did that a few years ago. I went through Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. It was my first time ever really playing them. And I just used my own notes. And I think there were only 2 times in the first game and in the second game that I had to look up a guide. Like, yeah, it's time consuming. You are going to run into moments where you're just like, I'm going to bang my head against every wall, try to figure out what to do. But you can. There's just going to be a couple moments where, especially in the case of Zelda 2, where things are mistranslated.
That's the unfortunate thing with 2.
Like there was some parts with like the graveyard that just didn't make sense from the context clues that they give you. But yeah, like it's more than possible. And it's really fun too.
I think I got through half the game with this idea way back when I first had the idea of doing it, like pen and paper style. And yes, I had memories of what I had done originally, which is what makes it nice that Zelda 1 does have the second quest where all the dungeon layouts are moved around and the whole map is changed around a bit. Yeah. So you can still have that fresh experience even if the master quest is a little bit meaner.
This all makes me think of how like this conversation, this topic as a whole, makes me realize how much I feel like I've personally evolved as someone who plays and appreciates video games within the past 8 years since Breath of the Wild has come out. Because I remember really enjoying Breath of the Wild, but kind of coming out of that game being on the side of, man, I wish there were more traditional dungeons. And I don't think, a year after that game came out, I probably didn't think about this topic as a whole at all until Tears of the Kingdom, and then even then I had beat that and I didn't think about this topic really again until Echoes of Wisdom, and then I played that and a month later still wasn't thinking about the topic until like today, right? Like I wasn't thinking about what should the next Zelda game be, should it be more traditional, whatever. And I think the reason is because, like you said, we're a little bit spoiled for choice in terms of other games, but specifically where these games aren't should it be this immersive sim? Should it be this puzzle game? I'm now at a point where I've played my fair share of games like Portal or Talos Principle, or I've played my fair share of games like Outer Wilds or Tunic, or I've played my fair share of games like Deus Ex or Dishonored, which are all doing the 3 potential things that a Zelda game could be doing at this point, but they're all committing to those ideas a lot more. So it's like, hey, if I want those puzzles that I have to do in like a very specific order that are like, those micro whatevers, I can play a Portal, I can play a Talos Principle, I can play a Viewfinder. If I want something that does more of the macro style, like, in the best Zelda dungeons of the traditional style, there were always these macro puzzles that weren't just like room to room. You were thinking about the dungeon as a whole space and like using spatial reasoning. It's like, there are games I can go play in Outer Wilds. I can go play a Tunic. Tunic does it really well to the point where that game actively tells you to have a pen and paper.
I'll even take that and extend it to a 2D Zelda type game because, Chris, I mean, you've played it as well. Pipistrello is like one of my favorite Zelda games maybe ever at this point.
Very, very good.
That game goes so hard while finding a way to implement A, Metroidvania design, and B, tricking you into it being both a Zelda and a Metroidvania.
What the hell is Pipistrello?
It is a Brazilian, I believe, game, very GBA aesthetic. Like very much a Game Boy Advance Zelda game, but it's a Game Boy Advance Zelda Metroidvania where you play as a little bat.
Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo.
Yep.
I'm wishlisting this right now.
Imagine if in Link to the Past, instead of your uncle dying, he became the sword and was a dick to you the whole game.
Oh, so Skyward Sword.
Yeah, kind of actually.
That's really cool that they made the bad guy from the Kirby Rat game the protagonist.
Yeah, it's
Squeak Squad.
such a good game at implementing the Zelda design, and like you said, Brody, because we have so many of those options now. I don't really care what they do with Zelda anymore, and now, especially like when I think about the blind spots that I had as a younger player when we didn't have as many games to play at any given point. Even within, the last, our lifetimes, the amount of choice we've gotten has expanded so much because of how opened up the games industry has become. But like there were stuff like there were games like Alundra is a weird PS1 Zelda game that like no one really talked about for such a long time that I didn't know it existed. I'm sure on the PS1, if you were around at that point, there were people that were saying like, oh, you know, this is the real Zelda, or you had like a Musashi, or you had, you know, Legacy of Kain. And Legacy of Kain is one that every time I heard anyone talk about those games, I thought they were weird, and I still do. But those games
I feel the same way.
This sort of resurgence by way of the remasters they've gotten, and similarly from the same remaster group, Tomb Raider classic Tomb Raider genre, getting such a chance at more life in the, you know, the Spyro Reignited kind of way has made me think about, you know, a lot of the stuff that you want out of a classic 3D Zelda, you've probably never played half those Tomb Raider games. Those are kind of that. You want to push blocks and do some really bad platforming, that's kind of okay.
Right, and like you said, with like, regards to like Zelda being a lot of like, oh, block puzzles, and a lot of those are like, you know, no offense to Nintendo, there exists a space where these games are needed and respected, but a lot of them are baby's first puzzle game. Yeah. And so the puzzles aren't particularly engaging. They get away with it, for lack of a better word, get away with it because it's all of that Nintendo presentation that is carrying everything. Right?
And I think now that so many companies have gotten so inspired with their presentation, especially now that, you know, indie developers are more and more capable of releasing things with like that high bar of inspired design, and maybe not, you know, polished necessarily every time, but we have so many companies that can pull that sort of thing off. That what does a Zelda game or a Nintendo game thrive off of besides being your childhood? And the answer is they continue to find new ways of completely rewriting their own genres by way of an Odyssey, by way of a Bonanza, by way of a Breath of the Wild. That these games, we didn't think in 2016 that Nintendo was capable of these games anymore. People forget how dire the Wii U era was. You know, like the big Wii U innovator game was goddamn Star Fox Zero.
And Splatoon.
Oh yeah, the game that had such shit multiplayer that it took 4 games to fix it.
Still waiting, bro.
Still waiting. Still not there. Yeah. Still not there. I like Splatoon, but it's like we had so many Nintendo moments, parentheses negative, throughout the last couple generations prior to the Switch, that now that we're so spoiled by how high the bar has gotten for Nintendo's quality and how well they were able to rewrite their image and revive our childhoods, no matter how old or young we are, they kind of do live off of the ability of just saying, hey, whatever we did in the past, screw that. That's already in the past. Other companies can do that now. We got to do new shit.
I think about it where I think of like, you know, getting a new traditional Zelda game from Nintendo, specifically doing like their old kind of style of Zelda game. And I kind of think like maybe I actually, if I strip back the idea of a Zelda presentation, like if I strip back the idea of presentation and like aesthetic and all of that lore and all of that stuff of like mattering, if I get right into the brass tacks of here's what the moment to moment gameplay of it is, and I think about my experience with a lot of traditional Zelda games, not all of them, but a lot of them, I kind of come to this conclusion of like, oh, the puzzles are either going to be so easy that I don't think about it, or hard, but not in a way that is like intuitive, hard in a way where I'm just like, oh, I didn't see this one thing that told me what to do, so I ended up having to like Google it. And because I think that's my experience with a lot of like Ocarina of Time. Honestly, genuinely, like I like that game, but it is either, you know, babby first puzzle or puzzle that is frustrating, not because it is, you know, fairly difficult, but just because you miss seeing the one thing that you needed to see that tells you what to do. And it's like, I don't really want that. And if I did, there's other franchises and games that just like do it better. And I think what I want, if I'm thinking about like, hey, this is a traditional 3D Zelda, it's not the immersive sim, right? It's not your Echoes of Wisdom, it's not your Tears of the Kingdom, it's not an immersive sim, but it is a more traditional Zelda in terms of hard mechanics and finite solutions to things. I think of something now like a Tunic, where a lot of those solutions are baked in a way where they're always existing and you're finding out about them in ways that like open up the world in a way where I could now go and replay Tunic, and because I have the knowledge of that world, and, you know, not to get the whole Metroid Brainia conversation, but just with regards to Tunic specifically, I could go back into that world knowing what I know now and play it in a different order. So I have this free-form way of experiencing the game where I don't need to go find, like, the hook shot where the hook shot is. Yeah, Kevin.
When you started talking about Tunic, I thought about those people that are so into, like, beating their shit that they have to keep looking up more and more aggressive types of shit to beat off to. You're desensitized to Zelda design, that you're just like, I'm gonna beat my shit to snuff.
5 years from now. Yeah, I played Tunic so much. I just remember how to do everything. So I just started doing cocaine instead to feel something.
I just started choking cats. You could do it in new ways every time.
God, you know, listen, I'm not saying, like, the through line of what you're saying is kind of there, where it's like I'm a little, you know, I've gotten what I can out of a traditional Zelda, but then even then, like, I do like a good standard puzzle where there is one right solution, and if I want that, I can go play something like I said, like Talos Principle, where there is just like, here's a room, here's a puzzle, find the specific order of events to do things in to advance. That exists, and it exists at a higher level of difficulty, a higher level of spatial reasoning skills that, you know, to pass and to do that, where I don't think Nintendo's ever going to give me that, because their philosophy is everyone's game could be someone's first game. It's a great philosophy to have for a specific player base. I just think that I've maybe advanced a bit past that player base.
It's interesting too, because we know the average Nintendo Switch owner is like 30. So
God,
like that still that doesn't quite shake out the way that they always say it does.
I'm almost there.
Oh, you're choking cats too, Kass? I guess to kind of circle back and summarize how you kind of indicated you feel, Brody, and how I think we all feel. What we want out of a Zelda at this point is whatever we know that they're going to do that's going to change what we want. Like, we know that they are going to find a new way to adapt or die, and they pretty consistently adapt even when they've almost died in the past.
Yeah, next one's going to be choking dogs.
And they're going to choke horses that next time. Epona's, with HD Rumble, it's going to bounce. Oh. And I think, like, you'll be able to feel the life leave the Epona as you choke it out, thanks to the HD Rumble slowly stopping.
You used to need Wii Motion Plus for that.
Yeah. So, I didn't know that they were going to be capable of doing something with, like, the shrine design that made me change how I perceived every game in the future ever since. And why are we on a Twitch hype train right now because of choking cats? That is insane. We stream these on Twitch, everybody. Hi.
We'll see how much longer with this kind of discussion.
I trust. They approve. I trust that. I trust that Nintendo's going to find things that we don't know we want, is what I'm saying. So I don't care if they go back to the traditional 3D Zelda design, where, again, kind of like you said, Brody, like, I think maybe in 2017 I would have said, yeah, it'd be cool if they went back. And then after Tears, the game that I am on record on this very show saying, I don't know that they're going to pull it off. And then, like, a month later, they kind of started showing more off. And I was like, I think, you know, they might pull it off. And they got me. Like, they took the exact same world and they got me. And so now I'm like, whatever. Like, it's like at the point of watching football where you're like, you know what, Tom Brady's coming back 28-3. At this point, I'm just going to respect it. You know, like, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. I might have hated it before, but whatever, man. Who's
Tom Brady?
You're the GOAT. Listen, Tom Brady is the one that chokes dogs, actually.
Oh, he'd fit right in here.
Legally, that's a joke. Don't sue
libel. If I'm literally thinking, hey, what do I actually want from his new Zelda? I'm like, I want Breath of the Wild, but put it on the Great Sea. That's what I want, right? Like, make a new pirate Zelda, but do it in, like, Breath of the Wild, like, style. That's literally just give me Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, whatever it is, but give it to me on a new map with like a new thing. Because I will say, I did burn out with Tears of the Kingdom, where I didn't with Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was like 2 weeks of dedicated playing for me, and I finished it, and I felt very full and satisfied. I didn't do every quest, but I did do every shrine, and I felt very sad. I was like, yum, that was good. And then 5 years later, Tears of the Kingdom came out, And I'm one of those people that was a little disappointed by the idea that it was the same map or whatever. And I did find that when I went into it, even though I had specifically held off on replaying Breath of the Wild for so long, because I'm like, well, if it is going to be the same map, I don't want to like burn out on that. I think because of the underworld map kind of being just the flip upside down of the map, which was cool for like a second when you discover it, because you're like, oh, that's a really neat thing. I think that translated into I burnt out on that game, one, faster, but was also playing that game for twice the time I was playing Breath of the Wild. And by the end of it, I was just like, yeah, I kind of want to just, I kind of want to be done with this actually a little bit.
I want to throw it to Kass and Chris to give their summary thoughts. I will say that surprises me because I think I played 140 hours before I did everything in Tears, and I think I played almost exactly that much time with Breath of the Wild too. Like though they took me the exact same amount of time to
Breath
do
of the
everything.
Wild. I remember it pretty well when I 100%ed Breath of the Wild. Every side quest, every Korok, every shrine. My
Every Korok's
hours,
insane.
my hours spent on the game was exactly 100.
Okay, so you played it even faster because I didn't get all the Koroks, and I think I was at like 120, 140.
Something like that. I remember us talking about this way forever ago.
Yeah.
With Tears of the Kingdom, I think I hit 100 hours by the time I finished every shrine, and I hadn't even like started side quests or Koroks or anything like that. So there is a lot to do. Like I remember maxing out everything to do in the Abyss area. I don't remember what it was called.
The Underworld?
And then, yeah, sure, probably. I'll have to check my my hours in it. They're probably a little inflated because I've started a second playthrough, but I am curious because I don't think I did every side quest. I think I got every collectible, and then that was it.
It's interesting because like I was talking to other friend of the show, Mini Me, recently about I've been thinking about Ghost of Tsushima because I have Yotei. I haven't started Yotei. I have a video half scripted for Tsushima that I was going to make like 4 years ago, and I was thinking about how a lot of people played that game wrong, but it's the developer's fault for designing the game in such a way that you could feel that way. That you could feel like, oh, it's just kind of a Ubisoft game, when that was like kind of a really cool, if now slightly dated implementation of the Breath of the Wild freeform design. There's a lot of stuff there that I don't want to get into because it'll go for a while. And I think the thing about Tears, for me, is similar in that I didn't expect going in that I would appreciate that Tears of the Kingdom, yes, it does take the same world and it changes a little bit here and there, and it also undoes the entire story in a way that's really frustrating, and they don't care about lore anymore. But I appreciated that they took the same world and made the exploration more focused on the horizontal element, even though it's a more vertical game. So Breath of the Wild, the challenge was verticality. It was getting to the top of things. It was, how do I scale that? Once you've done that once, the idea of Tears saying you could just teleport up there anyway, you could just go through the ceiling with the debug tools. The exploration was then, how do I get from A to B horizontally in the most fun, quick way, which was not really what Breath of the Wild was about, because a lot of Breath of the Wild is that empty open world space to give you time to think and explore and see things and want to explore more. So
like with Breath of the Wild, you were generally like encouraged to do it the way that you wanted, but the game was designed in such a way that most people kind of did everything the same way. It just kind of tricked you into feeling like you were doing it.
Yeah, like your path might be different, but
yeah. Like it was really well designed in that regard, that where it made you get a lot of those like aha moments. And Tears of the Kingdom was like, no, you are going to find out a unique way to do this, because that's just the freedom we give you for this game.
Yeah, especially with the nuts and bolts stuff.
Yeah.
With the crafting.
And now with the Switch 2 version, where you could just like QR code in like every solution to a puzzle now.
Yeah, with the Nintendo Switch Zelda Notes app, part of Nintendo Switch Online
where
app.
You get Switch Online notes for new lore to the game, because we don't want to put it in the game itself.
Dude, the underground guy can talk to you. He has voice notes. He has new lore in the Zelda Notes app. What was that guy's name called? The guy trapped in hell. And he's like, "Oh, I'm trapped in hell. Oh, I sure hope someone with a smart device can listen to my final words."
I think more games need that. A smartphone app for your games.
Good news. Microsoft and PlayStation both patented their AI "we do the game for you" technology. So.
I was going to say,
finally. Thank God. I've been needing that.
PlayStation AI podcast thing that did the rounds again that they like patented a few years ago.
right.
Now that I think about it, that was just what the Zelda Notes app was. Like that's just straight up. What if we had Zelda Tears of the Kingdom GPS? Why? Fuck you, swear jar.
Yeah, and I guess it comes down to, like, with Breath of the Wild, I think what made that feel so fresh was that the world was fresh, and like every moment of that game was discovering something new. Yeah. Right? And I think they tried their best to kind of inject that into Tears of the Kingdom, but inherently, because it was the same map, because it was borderline mostly the same topology, I just didn't get that feeling unless it was like, oh, hey, here's what's going on now in Hateno Village. And there is something different there, but it's not around every single corner like it was before.
I'll make a comparison that Chris will appreciate. I think Breath of the Wild is Judgment in that it's a whodunit, or like, here's this thing I'm discovering in Breath of the Wild's case. In Judgment,
I thought you meant like Terminator.
Whodunit, like the story. Tears of the Kingdom is like Lost Judgment, in that Lost Judgment is a how done it. You know who did it. You got to figure out the plot. The detective work is figuring out how. And I think in Tears, the how is the discovery, because you can see all the stuff that you know is there if you've played Breath of the Wild. It's the how you're going to get there that opens up the discovery, more so than Breath of the Wild, where the solution is almost always climbing creatively.
I agree. I agree that it's yeah.
I guess I'll let Brody talk first.
I was just gonna say, like, I agree with Kevin with regards to, like, it is a different experience. I don't think that means it is an inherently
you chose Kass, we get it.
Yeah.
It's just for what I'm looking for. I wanted the exploration.
Get
That's
off
all
to this. This is just making love a different way.
I want to turn the corner and see a dragon and go, whoa, dragon, instead of, oh, there's the dragon.
I don't want to make love. I want you to hold me down and tell me I matter. Kass, what were you gonna say?
I'm always saying this. I was gonna say, Kevin, you and I have talked about this on the podcast before. Where
I think we had a full review
maybe
of Tears.
maybe
yeah.
Not this part, but for a specific part that we do like to choke cats in bed. How Tears of the Kingdom did take basically a really well, what am I even doing here then?
Yeah.
Only if
what have we been talking about?
I don't like blood.
No, how Tears of the Kingdom took a very like simple story of saving the princess and made it like really emotionally impacting.
It compelling.
And I was gonna say, I was gonna say that the story for Tears of the Kingdom was much more engaging for me than in Breath of the Wild. Because in Breath of the Wild, you're right, it was like a whodunit sort of thing, where like there's a lot of mystery around everything, what's happened to the world. And then with Tears of the Kingdom, it's like an Empire Strikes Back sort of way of approaching the story. It's like, all right, you have the world building, let's tell a story now, where the fascination isn't with like, oh wow, look at this world. We're gonna actually tell stories with characters, and Raru or whatever the heck his name was.
Raru and his super.
Plus, once you get like 2 conversations into Tears of the Kingdom, you realize they don't care about what happened in Breath of the Wild, and so you can just say, all right, cool, I'm just gonna play it. Like,
that was a little annoying, but I mean, even then, the story that was there, I found to be very engaging.
Yeah, base story was really compelling. It just, that's the point at which I've realized, like, I was never like a timeline truther, but I liked the mental work of some of the more fun stuff of Zelda was connecting the dots, because they were also connecting those dots. So for them
there was some
direct
plausibility
sequel,
to all of that.
So with them, for a direct sequel to the game where they said, hey, all the timelines are real, and they all end up in Breath of the Wild, for them to make the direct sequel to the game that finally solved the timeline be A, timeline shenanigans, and B, all the other shit that ever happened doesn't matter, even in the prior game, because we don't care anymore, was immensely frustrating for me. But now I'm just like, you know what? I don't care what your story is anymore. Screw it. I'm just gonna engage with the mechanics and whatever.
It's crazy, right? Because in Breath of the Wild, they went as far as to be like, oh, here is the literal geography from those old Zelda games, recreated basically like 1-to-1 in a spot on the map. And everything is referenced.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Like, I wish in Breath of the Wild they had Link saying stuff like in Sonic Frontiers, where Link would be like, oh, I remember.
We'd get flashbacks to like the original game where it's...
Like he just starts talking with a deeper voice, because he's just like, yeah, they pay me more now, so I can use that real voice.
I wish Navi was here to see this one. God, I'm depressed. I want to go run on a rail in the sky.
I wonder what Ravi's doing in low.
This is just like that time at Adventure Island that I saw Knuckles.
I need therapy.
Whoa, down here, this is just like the Dark World.
Oh my god, this is like that time I watched Tails choking cats.
Guess it's better than being a painting on the wall.
I haven't
wonder
seen
how
Blaze
Hilda
in
and
a while.
Ravi are doing in Low Rule.
Is she in the future or is she an alien? What happened there?
What happened to her neck? Did you choke Blaze? Do your hands burn? People had to mod that game so Sonic would talk more. This conversation has crystallized to me that I don't care if the next 3D Zelda is old school or new school. I think I play Zelda for the specific vibe and charm that Nintendo is able to achieve in 3D Zelda games. Through, whether that be through implications of background story or even just as simple things as like the NPCs have a certain vibe to them and are always cute or standoffish in an endearing way, right? The weird little noises they make. That's why I was so resistant to voice acting in Zelda for a long time, by the way, because I didn't want the weird screams and grunts to go away, right? It's all these little specific Thank you. All those little things where it's like, I feel like that's the one thing no other game has really gotten for me that's either tried to do Zelda or does the things that a Zelda does better. There's like a specific way I feel that's so, I don't want to say coming home because I'm not that huge of a Zelda guy, but there is a certain space these games exist in that nothing else exists in. So I actually think I don't care about Zelda games that much. I just like the way I feel when I play them, maybe. So I think maybe this episode, for me at least, taught me that I'm not big of a Zelda fan, actually. I just like
At the end of this episode, I realized I really don't like this series.
Yeah, maybe I hate it. Do any of us like Zelda?
It's again, it's so interesting because like I consider myself a Zelda guy, and yet as time has gone on, I've realized like I am one. I'm not nearly as much of a sicko diehard as a lot of other people that will go and play like Breath of the Wild 3 times in a row or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like we know people that were like, here's my 4th playthrough of this game in master mode, and I'm like, I haven't even played that once. Like, and I want to, but I'm just like, I can't give that 120 hours again. I have other games to play and outside to be.
I get what you're saying, Chris. Like
exactly,
in terms
Brody. Because I'm crazy in other ways, because I know Kevin can relate to this, which is why I'm going to cut you off from talking more, but I'll let you when I'm done. But one of my bookmarks for years was the Stone Tower theory about Majora's Mask, because I know Kevin read that.
Still my bookmarks. It's still next to my it's next to my, why is there an Activision folder? Oh, what? That's for the Activision video.
That's for the How to Choke Cats folder.
I have like my YouTube, my Activision video research notes, a wheel, and Stone Tower on my bookmarks right now.
Yeah, a great fan theory. B, made you think about the world of Zelda and made me go, oh, it's cool how much you can extrapolate from what's here, and made me really care about that world. So I'm a sicko in the sense of like, I like thinking about the story of Zelda, not in an annoying way, but I do think they leave enough there to actually get invested in and a lot of little details to latch on to. So I'm definitely a Zelda sicko in terms of thinking about the world and stuff like that. But the game part, Brody, you can talk now. I'm feeling nice.
I was just gonna say that, like, I think you hit it on the head where it comes down to the reason I would play a traditional style Zelda game at this point is because I want that Nintendo presentation, is because I want to hear the songs, right, that have been in the series forever. One of the things that was maybe a bit more of like about Breath of the Wild for me was like, yeah, it's cool that they made all this music kind of like, you know, lo-fi beats to chillax to or whatever, but like I missed having those melodic things that I could hum along to and be like, oh, that's the noise that I like, and the noise that makes my brain go, oh, I'm playing a Zelda game. It's like, you know, sometimes you want to choke cats, sometimes you just want, you know, vanilla
You would
pussy.
get so tired of that music so fast.
I think the thing I liked about how Breath of the Wild and Tears did it, Tears to a lesser extent, because Tears does have more real music because it's more developed of a world. I liked that Breath of the Wild would make me think, was that a bit of Lost Woods there? Like there's just a little bit here and there, like of those corrupted bits that I would.
I think it's very cool in its own right. To the
point that this has been happening to me with Pocopia, which at the time of recording I recently got and also recently came out. There have been moments where there are like, it's regular music, but it is like a little more subdued Animal Crossing-y type music, and there'll be just little bits of like motifs of different themes, and I'm just like, oh shit, like that just hit. Like it stops me in my tracks because it just hit. And Breath of the Wild did that too. And like my favorite example of this sort of thing happening is from a traditional Zelda, which is in Skyward Sword. Spoilers for a 15-year-old game. One of the coolest things that game does is both one of the things that I think Tears also kind of does to a lesser extent, but is one of the defining features of like the vibe of a 3D Zelda to me. To your point about like it hitting you in a certain way and making you feel a certain way. They don't use Zelda's Lullaby the entire game, all 900 hours of Skyward Sword. they don't use Zelda's Lullaby until the point in the story where Zelda has to be encased in crystal because she choked too many cats, and she goes, like the whole thing, the whole story is like, oh, Link was a sleepyhead. He like slept in, and that's why Zelda got kidnapped or had to start her journey or whatever. And right at that point, she's like, hey, like I always woke you up. I'm going to trust you to wake me up here because I'm going to be in this crystal and I got to go do things because I found out I'm God. So I got to go do God things. And that is the moment where Zelda's Lullaby plays for the first time. And I was stopped in my tracks when that happened. Even as annoyed as I was with the rest of the game up to that point where I wanted more things to happen and I wanted there to be less filler in between. And there's filler right after that. And I've never been angrier at a Zelda game than in that moment. Like immediately afterwards, it is like the most emotional moment in a Zelda game that I can think of besides, now the ending of Tears of the Kingdom. Where Zelda is literally saying, hey, sleepyhead, wake me up. And it is the first time in the narrative of Zelda that lullaby theme will play. For that to be followed up with you talking to a stupid goddamn dragon, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I farted. You got to go get the stones." Like it's insane. It's an insane
Skyward Sword.
It's an insane game. But though that moment having happened was one of the defining things that I think evokes that vibe of a classic 3D Zelda. To your point, to both your points.
A good use of a motif, right? Like a good use of a motif will really just hit you in the right. Even something as simple as like the Zelda door opening noise, the Zelda chest opening noise, the da-na-na-na, like all of that.
The notes
hits
when
in
you
a way where if
that you've read the text, that'll always get me. Even as simple as that, yeah.
Like it's the kind of thing where when it's missing, you notice it even more than when it's there.
And when they use that for impact, it's incredible. When they instead use it for, we're going to make a Hyrule Warriors game to explain the story we didn't explain, not as impactful.
God.
That's so upsetting, man. Like, I remember being so mad that when they were like, we're not going to make DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. Like, okay. But it feels like there's so much setup for the DLC. What are you doing? Oh, we'll just make another Hyrule Warriors.
We'll put it in a game you don't want to play.
I'm a level 2. I don't even care that they didn't do DLC for Tears because they ended Breath of the Wild with Zelda saying, "Oh, there's a thing going on over there. Let's go check it out." And they never explored that. And then they don't even acknowledge more than once in the goddamn sequel what the divine beasts are.
Oh yeah.
They are in. I think there is one piece of written dialogue in the entirety of Tears of the Kingdom that mentions the divine beasts. One.
It's hard for me to understand because people may know I live near the Mothman stuff, right? 60 years later, people still talk about the Mothman, right? It's not like that happened and people are like, the tales of the winds tell the cryptid. It's like, no, that's a huge thing. If 4 gigantic mechanical animals stomped around West Virginia, you might bring it up now and then. Just my
even
thought.
Even if you took them down and broke them apart, there'd be at least one guy that was like, yeah, it was weird that those happened, huh? Right. Like, I remember when my dad died taking those things apart because he got crushed by Varuto.
When it died, right? Like something,
Like, they don't have OSHA in Hyrule. Like, someone got crushed by multiple different pieces of divine beasts at some point when they were taking those things apart. Oh, we're going to rebuild the village. One? It's that explanation is as close as I think Zelda will ever get to the Daenerys forgot about the fleet line that they used to like explain the bit they forgot about in the final season of Game of Thrones.
God,
remember that? I don't remember what the exact phrasing was, but it was like that.
Characters need to have flaws.
No, it was like the one of the 2 writers that doesn't have work anymore was just like, oh yeah, she kind of was just busy and forgot about this army that's about to invade.
It must have been one of those days I was having a busy day.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's even worse. At this point, we're not talking about traditional 3D Zelda anymore, so screw it. It's even worse because there are characters in Tears of the Kingdom where they are in the exact same predicament that they were in Breath of the Wild, and they run into Link, and they're just like, oh, hey, new person I haven't met before. And I get that not everyone would have done those things, but at least do what like Yakuza does, where it's like, oh yeah, Kiryu, we met last time, and they just assume that you've done it. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. The funniest
bit of that was I had done, like I said, I did every shrine in Breath of the Wild, but I didn't do the quest, like the random side quest, which means I didn't do Terrytown. I had no idea that Terrytown existed. Terrytown?
Right?
No, I had no idea that Terrytown existed until I saw like some video essay talking about it or whatever, like years later. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Because I just didn't want to gather 30 wood. Like, that's not what I'm looking to do in that game.
You just cut down the trees. You just cut down the trees, bro.
Yeah, but I didn't want... They were like, hey, get 30 wood. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do this gathering bullshit. Like, I'm just not going to engage with that. And so it was interesting seeing Terrytown just be a thing in Tears. And everyone be like, hi, Link, you helped us or whatever. I'm like, nah, I didn't, but that's cool. That's cool. You guys still had that happen.
At least in Terrytown, they acknowledged it. Like it's the two mountain climbers, like the ones that are lost in the mountain in I think Breath of the Wild that are also lost in the same mountain in Tears, where you save them both times, and it's just like, hey, thanks, stranger. It's like, dude, there's like 4 people in this world. You know the little blonde hair, blue eyed guy with the missing arm. You know him.
Right.
I thought it was really cool in Terrytown when you get the little bouncing ball thing that you can't get anywhere else, and you got to put it on your shield to clone it.
Oh yeah, I saved those for throwing them into water from high distances.
Mm.
I would just make a raft and throw it at full speed at the ground and hope that I got crushed like those Varuto disassemblers.
This is like working on the Golden Gate Bridge, but in Zelda.
I think my biggest like pet peeve disappointment with Tears of the Kingdom was simply that they replaced my favorite character. Right, because I loved Kass in Breath of the Wild.
It's literally not there. Like they don't explain what happened to him.
They replaced him with like that other bird that's like working for the newspaper or whatever, like basically functionally.
But he's looking for Kass is like the weird thing. Like
yeah, and I'm like, but so I thought maybe that was where the no DLC thing hit me because I'm like, oh, maybe they're saving him. Maybe they're gonna do something with him that'll be like really
the
cool.
The Kass epilogue.
No,
the most Nintendo cope I've ever heard in my life. Oh, maybe it's in the sequel. They're gonna tell you what happened at the end of Wind Waker.
I'm just like, I loved him. He was great. He'd play a little song. His shrine quests were like some of my favorite things to do in the entire game. I loved them. And then he's just not. It just doesn't exist.
I don't understand what happened there. Like, I will never understand just that the active choice to say, yeah, you know what, we're not gonna acknowledge the stuff that we wrote.
I think his wife is still there, and he has like kids or something, and I think they're there, and they're like, yeah our dad's gone.
He went to get milk. Oh.
Right, like he just bounced.
What if he got crushed by Varudanya?
Ooh. And that's why no one talks about it, because they all miss Kass so much. Okay.
Well, because his family sued, and they were like, well, we can't talk about the settlement, so we can't mention Kass anymore.
There's a gag order.
It'll be a gag order, all right.
Like on the cat.
So just give me the Breath of the Wild pirate Great Sea game, and then put him in there and be like, this is where he went. He's actually the reason that we found this other kingdom that got flooded, even though it's not Hyrule.
You're gonna see like one of those like murals with like that like ancient inscription design, but it's a Kass and his fucking accordion.
Why did they call it Gloom? Why did they call it Gloom? There was Calamity in the first game. Everyone knew what Calamity was. They saw it everywhere. And then 6 years later, they're like, hey, here's this new thing that looks just like Calamity. And not one goddamn soul is like, hey, remember that stuff from before? No, it's just here's this new phenomenon called Gloom.
It's straight up like our zombies aren't called that, but within the same franchise.
Again, it's like people here will talk about a snowstorm for 20 years ago, let alone like some weird depresso evil energy.
Imagine next to the Mothman statue, there was just a giant like circle that popped out of the ground, and you didn't know what it did. But then some dude with a tablet walked up to it and went underground, and then all of those big bubbles in the entirety of West Virginia just disappeared. And you're like did you get like Men in Black flashed or something? Like it's like, oh yeah, none of that happened. It's fine.
It's very strange. Very
like
strange
there should be Zelda Breath of the Wild universe conspiracy theorists that are like, oh yeah, the government's putting shrines in our water.
I'd rather them be in game than on YouTube where they currently are. I would like that a lot more. Yes,
that's true. I want there to be an in-universe guy that's like, where's all the water coming from?
I tracked every river, and it turns out there's an end to our world, guys. The world's flat.
I had what was it, Pura? I had Pura make a green screen so I could talk stand up in front of this about Zelda for 20 minutes. Watch my Sheikah Slate video.
Who's the Alex Jones of Zelda?
Darunia?
It might be Daruk.
Daruk? Yeah, whatever his name is.
It might be Daruk. I think Daruk kind of gives me...
I feel like
that's a good answer.
The advisor to the Zora King. Like that's what's hidden it for me.
Okay.
There's a Turn in the Frogs joke somewhere in here about Zora, but I'm not doing it. The water's getting hotter, and I don't know. I have no further.
That is so stupid.
He's been strangely quiet ever since they started arresting the royal family for certain charges. I don't know. He's just talking about like Squishmallows now. I don't get it.
I made Hyrule Nightshade dick pills. Buy them.
You can feel a bounce on it. Yeah, I don't know.
Look how red my chest is now.
Do you think he was actually excited when Ganondorf came back?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like he saw it as a business opportunity?
You know, I guess the Yiga are...
Oh, yeah, Yiga.
They are in fact like a end of the world cult.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why he
true.
talks to you about the dick pills in the Zelda Notes app. Okay. Yeah.
Like the Yiga clan leader is kind of the Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really think that making this podcast was a mistake.
Why did they not call
Ganondorf?
Why did they change the name? I know we never knew how it was pronounced, but why did they call it not the Yiga? I called it the Yiga the entirety of Breath of the Wild, and then Age of Calamity came out, and they were like, no, Yiga.
I always thought it was Yiga.
That's how I've always pronounced it, so I don't know. I'm also uncomfortable saying it out loud regardless.
Like Yiga at least makes me think of Ninja Gaiden Z, and you know, like the Wii U game that everyone cares about.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I still have my Wii U.
Really? Oh.
That.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I think we need to flood Termina.
Well, I'll flood your
Can
Termina.
we kill this guy?
I'm right.
I think my closing hottest take is that if I play the sequel to a video game I didn't finish and it references something that happened in that one video game, it might make me want to go back and finish it, so they shouldn't be scared to do that. They should just let me be a little
exactly
confused.
why sequels are made. It's free marketing.
Free marketing.
For the first thing. Yeah.
It's also just not difficult. Like it's not like you have to do the whole, oh, well, we knew 30 million people bought this, so what if a different 30 million people don't play Breath of the Wild and play the sequel instead? You don't need to just not acknowledge the previous game. You could just say it happened.
We have to account for the people that didn't play this, for the people that, like 50% of the player base that have this console have this game.
And the thing, it's a Zelda. Like, it's not like it's Kingdom Hearts. It's not like it's Borderlands. It's not like it's Metal Gear. It's Zelda. Like, you don't have to be complex about it. You just be like, yeah, that happened.
Or just you don't have to say, yeah, it happened. Just acknowledge at any point in the hundreds of people that are in that world speaking at any point. Just be like, oh yeah, it's like that time. Like, do a Family Guy line. Do a Family Guy line.
You know what?
It's just like that time that we got crushed by Von Meadow. I don't know why everyone's getting crushed in this universe. That's what's happening.
Crushed by different giants too.
Yeah.
To bring it full circle, right? I think
how do you take those things apart?
God, I don't. I think the thing that we're getting at, is to bring it full circle. I think is like we're looking at Tears of the Kingdom and going, yeah, from a gameplay perspective, there was a lot of really cool things that they did, but we're thinking about, oh, what do we want out of a traditional Zelda? Why did we play traditional Zelda? And it maybe wasn't for the gameplay so much as it was for that Nintendo presentation, that Nintendo charm, which is kind of the one thing that Tears of the Kingdom is lacking for like 90% of the game until like the end of the game. Right, like it's lacking some of that Nintendo presentation, that oomph of like here's the cool Nintendo-y reason why you play, as opposed to here's just the gameplay reason why you play.
I mean, doubly so since the entire gimmick of that game is the buggiest shit they've ever made in their life.
Yeah, that too.
Like that whole game is, hey, we don't even care if you break it because we broke it ourselves. So here it's going to run at 20 frames per second, and you're going to make a big boat if you want to, and that's the game. And just hope that it doesn't fall apart. And to their credit, it doesn't. It's impressive that it doesn't. But gaming.
Do we have a Patreon question?
No, I didn't take one down. Dear viewer or listener, depending on which realm of this podcast you are in, do you choke
You
horses?
choke cats.
Do you choke horses? Would you choke Epona for $1? Let us know in the comments or the replies to this. We might send you an audio reply to the comment if you're on YouTube, because that's a thing we found out before this recording that we can do. So Chris is sending voice notes to one lucky commenter.
That's true.
He may or may not be drunk when he records them.
Yeah.
You don't have to download
I'll
the
make
Crub
sure
Notes
he is.
app. We'll give you the Crub Notes app.
We are not responsible for whatever Chris says. You are responsible for whatever Chris says.
Can't be worse than anything we've said in this episode, probably. Maybe.
Give it time.
I have a quick Patreon question I can pull that will get us out of here, and we will want to end the episode on. Azure
Let's do it.
asks, I'm going to regret asking this knowing how well the debates on the Discord server goes, but F it. E or 6-7?
End the fucking episode.
What?
E or 6-7?
What is 6-7?
You don't know what 6-7 is. Well, you see, it's kind of the funniest meme.